We're going. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Crackerjack 3026 here, back with another video.
Whoa. What? This is... You got the wrong thing there, bud. This is the Sports Nerds Productions podcast.
Right. Anyways, go subscribe to my channel.
This kid with his shameless plugs.
Shut up and sit down.
Where do we start this time, Jack? Where do you want to start? Or do you want me to start with my explanation of the last podcast? Okay, so if you listen to the last podcast, there was kind of an intentional setup for an intro, not unlike what we just did, to just kind of be goofy, where I was going to ask Jack about where his intro was, and then he was going to say, I don't have an intro. And then I was like, well, that's a good start. And then that was supposed to, I edited it wrong. And right there was supposed to cut into the music to start the podcast. And instead...
And then he started another intro.
Yeah, then the intro just sort of continued. And then why I decided to go about it that way, I have no idea. But that's a little explanation of kind of an awkward intro within an awkward intro. So before we move on, a couple of things. Jack just got back from hockey. He kind of stinks. How do you feel about that?
I feel soaked.
That's not ideal, but he's a trooper. So what else are we going to do? As mentioned in the last podcast, we know each other through Big Brothers Big Sisters of Halton. So what we thought we'd do is kind of talk about what we've done since the last podcast, which was, I think, 3 weeks ago today.
Yeah.
Or around there, 3 weeks ago. So, after the last podcast, what we do? Now I can't remember.
No. All I remember is the escape room.
Yeah, we did. Okay, no, we got it. So, we did the Aero Sports.
Oh,
there was So, Big Brothers Big Sisters has what's called group recreation events, where there's like group volunteers and then kids that aren't matched that kind of go out and hang out with the group volunteers. And then we kind of piggybacked onto that, went to Aero Sports Trampoline Park in Oakville.
And every week it's like, or it's not every week, but whenever there is one, it's always different. Like it could be a Marlies game, it could be a Leafs game, it could be Aero Sports, it could be bowling, it could be anything.
Yeah, it's a good description. So that was the first time I was ever to Aero Sports. You'd been there a number of times, I think.
Yeah.
That was fun, though.
Yeah.
It was,
you were exhausted about 10 minutes in.
Yeah, 10 minutes in. So we go in there, and Jack's like, I want to play basketball first. So there's a basketball net, like with trampolines all around, and you can jump up and jam or whatever. So Jack starts doing this like a seasoned veteran, and then I run up, and I do that like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, oh my God, I am exhausted. So yeah, I kind of ruined it for myself in the first 10 minutes. Gave myself a little bit of recovery, and then we played dodgeball most of the rest of the time, which was, I recovered enough to play dodgeball, so it was good. And Jack was always the one who seemed to be last on his team, still in the game. You've got a knack that I don't have.
Stamina's not there.
They can't see you nod in agreement. Yeah. Okay. And last week. Well, not last week. It was Saturday.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It was my birthday, so his type of birthday present is we went to do an escape room,
which had all kinds of potential, but
decided to ruin it about 5 minutes in.
That's a pretty good description. So, do you want to explain what it was?
Yeah, so it was like it was called Hacked. And basically, we went into the room, and we had to there was a bunch of riddles and a bunch of clues that we had to solve. And at the end of it, the main goal was to enter a code into a briefcase that would stop a bomb. So we were unsuccessful.
Because I just arbitrarily, for some reason... Any logic went out the window, and I thought at that point that I should type in any number just to see what happened, and it had already told me that
the clock would count like 2 times faster,
or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, we had 60 minutes originally, but with the clock going faster, we only had about 20 minutes, and there was many things we had to do. Like we had to, one clue led to us opening a lock, and then we had to enter I think about 5 passcodes before we actually could disable the bomb.
Yeah, so I ruined that way too early by just typing numbers in, and
but it was fun.
It had all kinds of potential. We're gonna have to do another one where I don't ruin it for you. Yeah. So that's an example of what a big brother and a little brother would do in an outing.
Week to week.
They recommend low cost or no cost, which when they put on the events and we can go for free, that really helps with that. But that one was a little bit more special. I just paid a little more for an outing for me and Jack for his birthday. So next week we're going to the
Aerosports.
No, we're going bowling next week because it's one of the last Bowl for Kids' Sakes fundraisers of the year for Big Brothers Big Sisters, I believe. We're going to go to the Burlington Bowl in Burlington and play bowling for free for a couple of hours with a bunch of other volunteers and littles, bigs and littles. So yeah, that's a wrap on our recent activity.
Yeah. So today we have 3 topics we're going to talk about. The main one being our trophy or NHL trophy candidates for the NHL awards.
Yep, and we'll also touch on Jack come up with the idea that he wanted to talk about what the Leafs should do in the offseason, how they should approach it.
And what the Jays should have done in the offseason, in the past offseason.
Yeah, and what's going to be a regular segment on this podcast is the player comparison. So I've got 5 NHL player comparisons. We match up 2 players and we debate who's better.
Yeah, we're going to do that every week. So
yeah, so we'll touch on that just before we get into the last part, which is the awards. So where do you want to start with the Jays?
Yeah. So I'll go first.
I got to crack this.
There we go.
This is going to be a podcast tradition, cracking the cola.
Yeah. So my first one is the Jays shouldn't have gone for older guys like Granderson and O. As you know, the Jays are a rebuilding team.
Well, not yet. They're not.
Well,
you want them to be.
Yeah. But I think a 35 and a 37-year-old. Yes, you want veterans on a soon-to-be young team, but going out and getting players that are only going to have a couple years with them.
You get that wrapped around the thing there.
Only going to go and play for them for about 1 or 2 years isn't good, because then once they're gone, then there's going to be holes, and then you're going to have to sign even more players to fill those spots. I think they should go for more people like under 30s or in their in their 20s, mid-20s, like 25. So they're going to be there for a little longer.
You want to build up a young core.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Next, I have should have focused on more pitching. So, right now, I like the middle infield for the Jays. I think that with the $18 million that they had from Bautista, they ended up spending $10 million of it on pitching and $8 million of it on batting or fielders, position players. I think they should have focused a little more on pitching and looking at the pitching market first before they took a look at the batting, because they spent all their money on batting first or position players, and then they actually decided then it's time to go and look for some relief pitchers or starting pitchers. So I think their main focus should have been on relief pitchers or starting pitchers to build that depth in that bullpen and maybe try and find like a number 2 or number 3 guy for the Jays.
A number 2 or 3 pitcher?
Yeah. Like Stroman and Sanchez are really good there, but like Sanchez isn't always healthy and Stroman doesn't always pitch up to his full potential.
Yeah, I guess I see your point that there's some question marks in the Jays, even though I do think they have a strong rotation, because what's Stroman going to bring? Is he going to be consistent? can Sanchez even pitch because his hands are made of butter? And then like Marco Estrada, he was hot and cold last year. What are you getting out of him?
Yeah.
And then like Jay Happ is good. He's probably the most consistent guy, but he's getting old too.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, so that's that. And then my last one is they should have used part of their money to buy Kendrys Morales out.
Okay.
Because he's
taken out. He's a dead space in the roster. He can't play a position.
He's old. He didn't have a good year at all last year, and he's just clogging up a spot in the lineup right now for them. Like, as you guys probably know, Teoscar Hernandez starting the year in AAA. I like though that they have to earn their way up, but Morales is just hogging up a spot in their in their lineup right now.
I would suggest that Steve Pearce is along the same lines.
Yeah, I agree with that. Steven, he can be good at some points, but is way too inconsistent. And if you think about it, he's kind of a one-trick pony. Like, he's only good against hitter, or he's only a good hitter. You can't put him in the outfield, and the only thing he's really good at is he's a power hitter, and that's about it. So that's all my Jays. What they should have done to me.
I think that you had some sound points there. I kind of have a either or. They had some options that they could have done in the offseason. I liked what they did with the middle infield. That they got Solarte and Diaz and Nagope. They got some depth there now that's a little stronger than what they had before because there's some uncertainty around Devin Travis and Troy Tulowitzki, how healthy they're going to be.
Yeah. You were mentioning in the last video that Travis is going to stay healthy for the entire year. So if so, in my opinion, I say Tulowitzki actually starts to regress, and Solarte would play most of the games, and I'd say Nagope actually goes to AAA.
Yeah, probably when Tulo comes back.
Yeah, and then Donaldson is scheduled to start at third base their next game that they play.
Is it tonight or tomorrow?
That's actually tonight.
Anyway, we're recording this on Tuesday night. It's today, the 3rd?
The 3rd.
Yeah, 3rd of April. Okay. Here's what I had. One, and it's easy for me to say. I'm not part of the negotiations. I don't know where players want to go that are free agents.
Yeah.
But I think that Curtis Granderson was a bad signing. I have the understanding that he seems like a good guy in the dressing room or in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Because he's an old guy, he's a veteran, and he's a needy guy. He's like a glue guy that everybody gets along with.
He's done decent in the first couple games that they've played this year, but like he's 37 years old. Like he's gonna start to regress, and he's getting old. So they're probably only gonna get like 1 or 2 years out of him, and then he's gone, and then they're gonna have to fill that spot again.
Well, he's only on a 1-year deal now. It might just be 1 year.
Yeah, so the chance of them re-signing him is like really small, and then the chance of him retiring is probably even like he's probably going to retire.
Yeah, so I thought there were way better outfielders out there than Curtis Granderson. I would have liked to have seen them made a real push for JD Martinez.
That'd have been nice, but I think the lack of pitchers and the lack of outfielders that they have right now, or that they had last season.
Martinez will play in the outfield.
Yeah, like he's just too much money that he's like, if they get him, they're not getting anybody else. I don't think that he's too much money.
Well, I think he signed for 20, and I know you explained the breakdown of the Batista money, but Batista was at 18, so that's not that much difference. If
they were gonna go for a push for him, then they'd have to be they would have to make some trades in this regular season to try and fill up those extra holes that they would have.
I would have liked to see them gone after Martinez. I don't know what the budget is. Maybe Rogers is tightening the purse strings. I don't know.
Hopefully they get. There's word that Rogers is not going to be their
owner
anymore.
Yeah, that's been dangled around for a few months now.
Hopefully, I'd like it if RBC came in with that like 300 million or billion.
I think it's like $1 billion they want for the club.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Why RBC?
My mom.
Okay. Jack's mom works for RBC.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I went after JD Martinez. Don't go after Granderson.
Yeah.
So, that's option 1 that I would have entertained.
I like that. That's a good deal. Like, he's a really good player, so... And he's better than all the other players they signed, so...
Option 2, though I think would have been better than Granderson, is to bring back Batista cheap. And maybe, like, again, I don't know what these negotiations look like, but I would like to think that you sign Batista for $3 million, for $5 million, maybe even get him on a minor league deal, depending on how bad he wants to come back, because he's not signed. You get a guy like Batista in the lineup and bring him back. I think he's a better option than Granderson.
I would give him a minor league chance, a minor league deal for the first couple games. If he plays well, then I would risk it and bring him up. And if he doesn't do well, then just dump him, try and buy him out. Because if he has the same year as he does last year,
yeah, he was awful last year. But I like to think that
he could make a comeback here. And he did actually say that he found out that there was something wrong with his eyes, so he got contacts. So
yeah,
maybe that might fix the problem.
Nobody was willing to take a chance on him though.
Yeah,
he's still the free agent. Yeah. I just think, especially right now, if you didn't have Granderson but you wanted another veteran, you could get Batista cheap. I would like to think so anyway. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to come back from Russia.
And it would be nice, and that would actually be a smart deal because like he is almost about to retire. Like I would think that if he doesn't probably get a deal in the next couple of months, then he's probably gonna retire. But if the Jays get him and he does well, then you trade him. You get him for as much as you can, and you bring in some good players. And if he doesn't do well, then you just buy him out. But like, if I were the Jays, I'd take that chance because then you could get some real solid players for him if he did well.
Yeah. And here's my third option. If you didn't want to do either of those two things, or either of those things weren't feasible, I would have traded Josh Donaldson already. Would have done that in the offseason. And go with the youth in your lineup. At least get Hernandez and Alford out there. You don't sign Granderson. Maybe you make the deal for Grichuk. But you're gonna avoid Granderson. You're gonna trade Donaldson, and then you have spots for Hernandez, Teoscar Hernandez, and Anthony Alford. And depending, because two guys that they're not ready to bring up yet, but they killed it in spring training were Bichette and Guerrero.
I actually really like that. See, I would actually make that deal, and I'd trade him to a team that has, like, if you look at your lineup right now, Martin's getting paid a lot. He's getting a little old. Maybe you try to look to a team for a high prospect catcher for Donaldson, and you maybe try to get rid of Martin with them. Then you look for a good third baseman.
The Jays do have some contracts that are going to be tough to move. I don't think anybody's going to touch Martin.
Yeah, Martin's basically Morales right now.
And a guy who's not going to get touched is Tulo. He's gotten no trade value.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so they have young prospects, but if they're looking to trade to maybe they're growing, fill in those spots with average guys, there's no way they're going to get anybody unless they trade Donaldson, and even then, they're probably not going to get a lot.
I don't know if they'd get a player able to play now for Donaldson, but they'd at least get a couple of aged, like, top prospects in return for him, I would think. Like, guys along the Guerrero, Bichette.
Yeah. If I was to trade Donaldson, I'd automatically go to the Braves because they probably have the best prospects in all baseball. And they have loads of them. Like, they don't just have one good player, which they do, but they have multiple. They have like a lot of good depth, young stars. And if you trade Donaldson, like, if you were to go to a team that didn't have a lot of prospects, they wouldn't be willing to give up them because that's their only player. But if you're getting to a team that maybe has two really high prospects at catcher or at one certain position, I automatically go to them.
Depends on what their needs would be too, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were my ideas for what the Jays should have done, and a few options there. Ultimately, the signing of Granderson, I don't understand. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him loose before the season's over. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I kind of see that going. Yeah. Okay, so that's part one.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to the things that the Leafs need to do in the offseason.
This upcoming offseason.
Yep, this upcoming
after they get knocked out in the first round.
Which will not happen. They're going to make it past Nashville, past Tampa Bay, past Winnipeg, and past Vegas.
They aren't going to play all those Western Conference teams.
They'll play one of them, and they'll beat them in the finals.
Yeah, they'll just forfeit, eh? Like, they can't handle Toronto's offense. Okay, what do you got for the offseason?
Okay. So, I have 5. I'll go from number 5 to 1.
Okay.
So, coming in at number 5, the Leafs need to re-sign everyone, except for the rentals like Plekanec. And they need to do, especially on defensemen, make sure they sign everyone on defense.
So right now they've got UFAs coming up. They got JVR, Bozak, Komarov, Dominic Moore, and your favorite, Roman Polak.
Yeah. So sign pretty much every. I really would like to see JVR come back. I wouldn't be too upset if Bozak was to leave, and maybe try to go to like a San Jose team and try and get like Chris Tierney. He's a good third line center. But basically want to re-sign everyone and maybe let those couple guys go. But you pretty much want to re-sign everyone just so you're not losing anything. But especially defense, because right now they're really weak there. And they can't afford to lose like a Gardner or a Riley. Like that would just be the end of it.
Yeah, those are real core guys.
Yeah. And even on a regular NHL team, like they'd be second pairs. Maybe Morgan Riley is on your first pair. Like right now, because of the Leafs' structure on defense, you can't lose anybody.
You put somebody to play with Riley on his pairing, and like a real legitimate top pairing guy, and Riley rises to that occasion and becomes a real legitimate number 1. Or top pairing guy, I mean.
Yeah.
What else?
So next, coming in at number 4, realize the needs of this team. So, obviously defense is probably their weakest part. People are saying that their backup goaltender is not very strong, which I totally disagree with.
They also have 2 guys in the minors that are better than some teams' backups.
Yeah, like they're saying McElhinney is unreliable. If you look at his stats right now,
he's got like a .930 save percentage.
Yeah,
this year.
.930 save percentage. He's 10-4-1, and I'm pretty sure he has like a 2.1 goals against average.
Yeah, he's like the perfect backup. I disagree with that completely.
If somebody was telling me that they would trade, so probably the next best backup goaltender in the league right now is probably Aaron Dell. Would you agree with that? Aaron Dell? Or maybe Darcy Kemper or Antti Raanta, one of the two? Who'd you say?
I'd probably say I really like Darcy Kemper, and we talked last time about the Coyotes on a tangent here just for a second. About the Coyotes getting Kemper, and then we talked about how obviously they think that he's a number 1.
Yeah.
I don't understand that deal at all anymore, because I was watching Hockey Night the other night, and they noted, I think it was on Hockey Night in Canada, but wherever it was, they noted that Antti Raanta has the best save percentage of any goaltender in the league since January 1st.
Yeah, I don't know why they went to get
Kemper.
Yeah,
why did they need Kemper? They get the hottest guy in the league. But anyway, I guess they just wanted to solidify. Wanted to have 2 guys. And to make my point, went out and got a guy like Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, and he's a good backup. Like, the deal with, like I said in the last video, the deal with Minnesota, when he was playing for them, he's a really good backup, but Minnesota didn't like him, so he got to LA, and then on LA he had good numbers. But for some reason they traded him to the Coyotes, and the Coyotes like him, and he's like a really good backup.
Anyway, Kemper's my guy, but McElhinney's a good backup. I have no problem with that.
Back to the point, like if I wouldn't make the deal, McElhinney for Dell. If I was the Leafs,
I don't think San Jose's making that deal. They like Dell. Okay, what else you got?
Next, I have review the free agent market. So, kind of like the Jays, you just want to touch the surface of who's there, and just like right off the bat, see if there's any like big names that you can afford, kind of like the JD Martinez deal. Like you said, like the Jays could probably afford him, right? And if there's
a different landscape in baseball, though, where you get a lot more money to work with.
Yeah.
With Toronto, they're hamstrung by a salary cap. With the Leafs, I mean.
Yeah. But like if the Leafs, like if there's like right now, there's a lot of good players on like really good contracts, like that. Like for example, Max Pacioretty, he's getting paid $4.5 million for an automatic 30-goal scorer, and like you want to look for those guys on the market because those are guys that like are gonna produce well for you and aren't getting paid that much.
Really helps your cap situation.
Yeah, and like the only problem is if they only have like a couple. If their contract is running out, then like if they're gonna want like $7 or $8 million, then that's.
Pacioretty would be a great replacement for JVR because JVR is probably gonna get like $7 million a year.
I've been talking to you that for a while. Like Max Pacioretty, like he's a number one line player or
first line player.
Yeah. So you want to look for all those players that maybe are a little underrated with their money that they get.
Yeah, and the thing about Pacioretty is that are the Leafs in a position to trade for a 1-year player because Pacioretty's going to get paid after this year?
I think with the
after next year, sorry.
Yeah, I think with the amount of money that come in their way, like Marner's going to be 6, Nylander's going to be 6, Matthews is probably going to be about 10 to 11.
I agree. I nod in agreement.
Yeah, they can't afford to. In my opinion, they're gonna have to find a way to either trade Marner or Nylander, one of the two, not both, or they're gonna have to look for a lot of guys that don't get paid a lot of money, but can do serious damage towards other teams, which is gonna be a struggle because there aren't many players that are like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to
where are we at now? Number 2?
Yep, number 2 is start scouting the free agents you may purchase. So I think the Leafs need to, connecting to number 3, they're reviewing it. Then they're gonna they're reviewing the free agent market. Then they're gonna carefully select the broad players they're gonna go after. Then they're probably gonna debate for a couple of days. Then they're gonna be like, okay, we want this guy. They're gonna probably see and kind of think of how he's going to help the team, think of what he may do in the future, if there's going to be any problem if they sign him, those type of things. And then basically at the end sign him. And then they're probably going to make sure that like, okay, like if we sign this guy, nothing else is going to happen.
Okay.
And then finally, purchase your free agents while preparing for the future.
What do you mean by that?
So, like I said in the second one, get your free agents, but make sure you're not signing, like one free agent this year is going to be Joe Thornton. There's no way you're signing him $8 million and he's old. But if you take away the old factor, he's $8 million. You can't afford that with the future coming in. It leaves future so bright.
So you kind of want them to make strategic moves, so like get guys that'll fill holes.
Fill holes, but not take up too much room.
Okay. Sensible.
Yeah. It's going to be tough for them to do, but I still think they can manage it.
Yeah, they've got some big contracts coming out. They got some decisions to make. Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I had. I can't call myself a Leafs fan, so I don't have as much passion around this as Jack does, but I'll throw out my ideas. So first of all, you're gonna have to. Here's what I think. You're gonna have to clear some money.
Okay.
So you're gonna need to take care of your young guys, the Matthews,
Set
Marner.
yourself in a good position.
Yeah. So I'm saying these are the UFAs that unrestricted free agents need to walk. JVR, Bozak, Plekanec, Komarov, Moore, and Polak
are all gone.
All of them. Yep.
That's a serious room.
Yeah. So for this offseason, this is the second part. Nylander is going to be a restricted free agent. Get him under contract for and give him an 8-year deal, get it done. So sign Nylander's probably going to cost you $6, and then get extensions done because Matthews, Marner, and Gardner. Matthews and Marner will be 1 year away from being restricted free agents, and Gardner will be an unrestricted free agent after next season.
Yeah, they can't afford to lose him.
Yeah, so I would get all 3 of those contracts done in July.
Yeah, by then, with the 10 mil cap rise, so you're going to have an extra 10 mil cap space, that'll probably set you at a solid 30 mil cap space, which is really good. Well, and if I was the Leafs, I'd probably spend half of that on free agents. Half of that money, so 15 mil, roughly. Maybe even less, depending how many good contracts they can get from players. And then basically leave the rest open for the future.
Yeah, so those guys need to be the priority, and you're allowed to work out extensions a year in advance of the contract end. So I would get Matthews, Marner, and Gardner, like even get them done now and have those ready to announce on July 1st. These guys aren't going anywhere. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the Leafs. I noticed today, doing a little bit of research on this, that they really are in need of a right-handed defenseman.
Yeah.
After this season, the only right-handed defenseman that will realistically make the lineup next year is Zaitsev. So I would make it a priority this offseason to go out and get a right-handed shot defenseman.
And there's a good amount of like top 4 defensemen there. Like...
Yeah, there was 2 that came to mind. I don't know if they're both top 4, but I think my top priority for the Leafs this summer would be John Carlson.
That would be... I watched this YouTuber, his name is Top Shelf Hockey. He was talking about some trades that could happen in the offseason. And I was saying that, you know what the Leafs really need is a player like John Carlson, a right-handed defenseman. He's right-handed. And, like, he's not very affordable, so they're going to have to watch that. That's why I think they should...
He's probably going to be a $7 million guy.
Yeah, I think that's why they should get rid of people like Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, and that's a good amount there. So, yeah, I say they could actually get John Carlson. And on the YouTube thing, on the YouTube video that I was watching, I posted a comment about how they should get him. And he actually replied, and he said, that's like a very good player that they should actually go after. The only concern is that he's going to be a little bit of money.
He's leading the league right now in points among defensemen, I believe.
He's one of my favorite defensemen. I love him.
Yeah, and he's a good defenseman too. Like, he's an all-around defenseman. Yeah, he puts up points, but he can handle the back end too.
He'd be their number 1 defenseman if they were to get him next year, which I really think they can.
There's going to be a lot of suitors for John Carlson, so...
Yeah, hopefully they can. And say you were to get rid of all the players that you've said, JVR, Bozak, Polak, all those guys, and Komarov. Say you were to get rid of that, I would also, while getting John Carlson, probably $7 million contract, try to go out and get a player like Max Pacioretty.
Okay. Focused on the right-handed defenseman. If you can't get John Carlson, because like I said, there's gonna be a lot of suitors for him. One name that I came across today that I thought was really interesting was an old Leaf, Luke Schenn. That he could be a nice fill-in third pair right-hand defenseman.
That'd be nice. Wasn't he? No, he was in an All-Star this year. That's a different Schenn.
No, it was Braden.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his brother. So, I thought Luke Schenn is an interesting name that he was a high pick by the Leafs quite a while ago now. And he would just be an interesting guy to bring back. You get him on a decent contract.
The Leafs have plenty of depth on defense, but they don't have a good defense.
They're lopsided on left-handed shots.
Yeah, and like the thing is if you were to get Schenn, the only problem is automatically he'd be a third pair defense. But some of the borderline third pairing defensive players on the Leafs this year, like Borgman, I guess you could say, Dermott, players like that, they're probably gonna go to the minors or not AAA.
I don't think Dermott's going back to the minors.
Like, See, this is the thing. You can't put a guy like Dermott on your second pairing. He doesn't go there. He would be on the third line pairing, and you can't put Shen on your second line pairing either.
Yeah, I think Shen would be an interesting guy. That he'd fit in their cap situation because they're going to be tight between $1 million and $2 million, and on a 1 or 2 year deal, I think that's a guy that could fit. And what I wanted to say was he'd be a major upgrade on your boy Roman Polak.
Yeah,
similar type of player.
Yeah, and he basically replaces him. He's kind of like an upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was what I wanted to do with the Leafs. If I can add one more that I didn't write down, but I thought about it, and there's nothing you're going to do about it this offseason, but an issue coming up is Patrick Marleau, because
he's retiring in a couple of years.
He's due he's cap hit 6.875, I think, for the next 2 seasons after this one, and he's going to be like a third, fourth line player in Toronto.
Yeah, especially if they get, like what I said, Pacioretty, which at this point I feel like is unlikely, but if they do get him, you have Pacioretty on the first line, probably Hyman on the second line because Babcock loves him, and then on the third line, it's questionable who they'll have there. Probably Marleau. And then the fourth line, he's not, like, for $6 million or 6.895 or whatever he said, for like a third or fourth line player.
With all these contracts they have coming up, he's going to be a real issue for them.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Bobby Ryan of
They're going to have to trade him, buy him out, or hope he retires.
Yeah, we hopefully he retires even this year. That would be nice, but he probably won't.
If he's not leaving that money on the table, he'll stick around. You don't like that, do you?
No, I kind of want more. I mean, he's decent. Like, he's like a 2 to 3 mil player in my opinion. That's all.
He's getting doubled 2-3 times what he should be.
Yeah.
All right, what'd you think of my off-season plans for the Leafs overall?
I like it. It way more focus in my mind was kind of broad. I like about the John Carlson. I really like that. I really think that's a possibility for the Leafs. There's going to be a lot of cluster on him, but
if they go out and get Carlson this year, they won't have a hand in on Erik Karlsson or Drew Doughty next summer.
No, I don't think they're getting Carlson. I don't think they're getting Doughty. I think the only option really, besides them, is actually Oliver Ekman-Larsson, which even then I don't think they're going to get him. He's an older guy, and Arizona has a bright future, so he's probably going to want to stay for that.
He's been around a while, but he's really not that old. He's like 25 or 26, I think. And for a team in Arizona that's on the upswing, I know they're having a terrible year this year.
Yeah,
they get a ton of young guys.
Bright.
They're going to be good. And I think they better hang on to Ekman-Larsson. I don't know what his contract situation is. I think he might be actually a UFA in a year or two.
This year he's getting paid $5 million, which is not a good contract.
But he might only have a year or two left in that deal.
He has 2 years left.
Okay. All right. Do you want to move on to the player comparisons? Yeah.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
I offered you one. You wouldn't take it.
Anyways. Okay, what you got?
All right. A couple of these are throwback edition of comparisons.
Oh, I don't like that.
Number 1. Looking for your expertise on this one because there are a couple goalies. Roberto Luongo or Corey Schneider? I bring this up because they used to be the tandem in Vancouver that created all kinds of problems for a couple of years.
I take Roberto Luongo.
That's interesting because Schneider is the younger guy. He's having an awful year this year. When I looked at his numbers.
Is this for like a 1-year thing or?
Right now, who do you want your team for the playoff run?
For a playoff run. Yeah. Next year, you're not making.
Nah, like just right now, who do you want? You going Luongo?
Luongo.
And what's interesting about that is, you asked me this 2 years ago. It would have been Corey Schneider all day. Luongo's getting old. He's 38 years old, and he's killing it this year.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
I usually only watch Leafs games unless I'm watching the Jets because I love their team. But whenever I seem to watch the Leafs, I feel like he's getting 35 shots a game, and he's only letting a goal. Like, to me, he seems literally like a brick wall. Like, I feel like they can't get the puck past him. The only way is maybe on, like, some bad goals or some bad... Like, he gives up some bad rebounds, but other than that, like, on a shot, you're not going to beat him.
Maybe a conversation for another podcast, but I'll just throw this one out there, that Roberto Luongo is the best goaltender to never win a Vezina in the history of the NHL.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He was on some awful Panthers teams before he went to Vancouver, and his numbers were stellar. Like, every year he was great, and because he has such a terrible team in front of him, his numbers were dragged because of it. So yeah, I would tend to agree. Luongo this year, I found it odd when I looked up Schneider's numbers that he's actually kind of split time this year with Keith Kincaid in New Jersey. They played about the same number of minutes, same number of games.
Oh boy.
That tells me that Schneider's been a little spotty.
What do you know his exact numbers right now, or?
It was a .909 save percentage, and him and Kincaid were on the same, which surprised me because New Jersey's a playoff team.
Corey Schneider with yikes, that's not very good at all. Like, for a starter, and he does have he's actually a really good goalie, but 909 save percentage for a starter is not good.
Yeah, you kind of want a 915 these days, 915 or better.
Usually for a starting goaltender, you probably want anywhere from like a 920 or up. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, just that one surprised me that Schneider seems to have faltered a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Okay, second one. These guys were involved in the same trade earlier this year, and I think this would have been cut and dried at the time of the trade, but I don't know if it is anymore. Matt Duchene or Kyle Turris?
Kyle Turris.
Really?
Yeah. If I was to take this from a couple years ago, then I would have said Matt Duchene, or maybe a couple like last year. But like Matt Duchene has done like not very good at all this year.
He had a horrific start. To use one of your famous words, horrific.
Yeah.
He was horrific at the start in Ottawa, but I think he kind of rebounded a little bit.
Yeah, not like a Matt Duchene type of player, but he has done decent. He's
who?
Matt Duchene.
He's not. Sorry, you said a Matt Duchene type of player. Did you misspeak there? I don't know what you meant.
Oh no, sorry. I meant like he still hasn't like played up to the potential that he can play.
He has in the past. Okay, I know what you mean.
But he's rebounded in the sense that like he's doing better than he did a couple of months ago. Yeah, Kyle Turris on the Nashville Predators, a serious team right now, is doing really, really good, and he's probably their top 3 offensive players right now.
I would go Matt Duchene.
Matt, really?
Yeah, I just like Matt Duchene. I think he's had a horrible start in Ottawa, but I think that he can be a first-line player. I don't think Turris is a first-line player at all. I think Turris is a complimentary guy. He's going to get your 50 or 60 points. Duchene has that point-per-game potential. I just think he's got a little extra gear that he hasn't shown yet in Ottawa, but I think he can.
I think Turris is way more consistent. Matt Duchene is way too inconsistent. I think Turris, when he wants, he can like be a serious threat to the opposing team. So can Matt Duchene, but I feel like Kyle Turris just shows it a little more than Matt Duchene.
Moving on, I mentioned a couple of throwback comparisons. Here's the other one. Maybe the most controversial trade of my lifetime as a Habs fan, PK Subban or Shea Weber?
PK Subban all the way.
Thank you.
Oh,
that's my guy.
Pleasure.
That's my guy.
No, like he's younger. He has way more energy. Shea Weber, like I said in the other video about Ovechkin, he's like a one-trick pony. He's a decent defenseman, but he's really just on that team for a shot, his shot. Yeah, PK Subban.
Shea Weber's a really good shutdown defenseman. He's lost a step, but he's still really good.
But with PK Subban, he has that little bit of an offensive touch. He has a good shot. He's a very good shutdown defense. Like, he's really good. Probably one of the top 5 defensemen defensive defensemen in the league right now.
Who?
PK Subban.
Okay.
Yeah, I would prefer, like, without a doubt, PK Subban.
I like to hear that. I was doing a little bit of research today for one of our other our next topic, the awards, and I heard this somewhere before, but PK Subban is like 8th in the league in defenseman scoring. and he started 43% of his face-offs have been in the offensive zone. So he's in the D zone way more. He's basically relied upon as a shutdown defenseman in Nashville, and he still put up like 58 points this year. That's crazy. Killing it. Yeah.
What's funny is like
it's a huge misnomer that PK isn't a defensive defenseman.
Yeah, he reads like he can read every play. Like in my opinion, his best play is when somebody dumps it around the boards. He goes to get it. He knows if he needs to pass or if he has time to carry it up. And a lot of times he catches other teams off guards and he carries it up to the opposing team's blue line, which is crazy because then with the shot he has, he can just rip it past or he can make a serious pass to one of his line mates.
I love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
He's good.
Okay, moving on. We mentioned these guys already, so I'm just going to throw it back out there. Drew Doughty or Erik Karlsson? Both free agents after next season.
I'd take Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, me too. I think Drew Doughty's one of the most overrated defensemen in the league. Now, that said, I think he was in my Norris vote, so maybe I'm overrating him too, or I don't know what I'm trying to say right now, but I've always felt like PK is a better defenseman than Doughty, and everybody thinks Doughty's better. I just kind of disagree.
Erik Karlsson does have that leadership role type of. He's a leader, like PK Subban. He knows when to try and score, but he knows when to be a shutdown defenseman, like he is. He can read the play very well, and when he has the chance, he'll try and get a goal or make a nice play to set up his teammates.
Yeah, I think Erik Karlsson is the best defenseman in the world. He's had a really terrible year this season.
Yeah, well, he still put up everybody points. On Ottawa has.
Yeah, things have just gone south in Ottawa, but pound for pound, any day of the week, I got to pick one defenseman. As much as I love PK, I'm going with Erik Karlsson, and yeah, I think they're probably going to be neck and neck, Doughty and Karlsson, on what they get for contracts after next season. But I think that the team that gets Karlsson is the winner.
Yeah. When somebody asks me, what do you think of Drew Doughty, the first word that comes to mind is stationary. He doesn't move a lot. Like, he can read plays well, but he's when he gets the puck, he's kind of delayed. Like, he doesn't always. He has some giveaways, and when he gets the puck, he kind of looks around like, where do I pass? And then a lot of the times there's nobody in front of him, and he makes a pass, and the other team takes it, and they're on a break. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's like a really good defenseman, but I don't think he's close to Erik Karlsson.
Last one. Another two guys that were traded for each other recently. Artemi Panarin or Brandon Saad?
Oh, I love Artemi Panarin.
And Saad has not had a great year in Chicago. That ended up being a horrible trade for Chicago. Yeah. Chicago's on the outside of the playoff picture, and that could be a reason why.
Artemi Panarin's one of my favorite players. His shot's really good, and he, like I've said with all the other players, he can read the play well. He'll get set up, kind of like Alex Ovechkin. He'll get set up for plays. He knows when to pass. He knows when to shoot. He knows when to take a line change. He knows when to dump it around the boards. He knows when to skate. He knows how to read a play, which is like a key component of being a good NHL player.
I'll just leave it on this, and maybe I picked Panarin for this reason. That it came out the other day that somebody saw him at a Starbucks in Calgary, and did you hear about this?
No.
So they asked him when you order something from Starbucks, they ask you what your name is, and they write your name on the cup, so then the person that makes it knows who to give it to. And they asked him what his name was, and he said John. So somebody that knew him, I think it was a reporter, came up to him and said, "Why did you use the name John?" He said, "Well, they're never going to get Artemi, right?" And yeah, I just thought that was funny that he was going with John, but then everybody else was like, "We should have said Breadman." That's his nickname.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually did that with my sister a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
She was getting eliminated. I'm like, I told my mom, put Jeff on it. So
for Reese, Jeff.
Yeah,
her name's Jeff.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
She was really mad.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, she got mad at me, but. Anyways, it was April Fool's Day. Like
it's a good joke.
I'm not very creative, so
hopefully she got over it.
Yeah.
All right, those are the player comparisons.
Yeah. So moving on to the
pièce de résistance.
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know. It's like a French, horrible French accent.
Now, moving on. So every week we'll obviously have, or maybe not every week, but every time we do a podcast, we'll have like one final topic. Last week it was we didn't really do it last, but last week was basically the playoff bracket. This week it's the trophies nominees. So the way we're going to do it is Justin's going to say 3 of his nominees that he has. I'm going to guess which he think has the most chance to win. Then he's going to tell me which one he thought has the best chance, and then I'm going to say my one player that I thought is going to win. So he'll go first, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, I'll start with the Calder Trophy for the league's best rookie. I have Matt Barzal, points leader. He has 79 points in 79 games as a rookie. That's ridiculous. He plays for the New York Islanders. Yeah. My second option, and these are in no particular order, I have Clayton Keller of the Arizona Coyotes. He leads the Coyotes in scoring as a rookie, and he's second in points among rookies.
That's good.
And my third rookie nominee was Brock Besser from the Vancouver Canucks. He's tied for the rookie lead in goals. He's missed significant time, and he's got 29 goals. But on pace in an 82-game season, if he played every game, he would have been on pace for 38 goals. As a rookie, that's ridiculous.
It is. I know you love him, and he has done really good, but I'm going to say you chose Matthew Barzal.
I did choose Matthew Barzal as my Calder Memorial Trophy candidate as Rookie of the Year.
I really like him.
Who'd you have?
Calder Memorial.
Yeah.
When I looked up it, so this is the funny part. It said whoever. Okay, so when I looked it up, because some of the trophies I didn't know, like...
Well, you could have asked me.
Yeah, but... Okay, so the definition said that the Calder Memorial was the player that got set up the best.
Where did you get that from?
Wikipedia.
Okay, who did you pick?
So...
you didn't pick a rookie.
No, I said Alex Ovechkin.
Okay, now the Calder is for the Rookie of the Year.
If I was to choose a rookie, I'm saying this like right now, just 2 off, I think. I would go with Matthew Barzal as well, but It would be pretty much a dead tie between Matthew Barzal and Brock Besser. Brock Besser, I could actually relate to Alex Ovechkin with a really good shot, but Matthew Barzal, I think, is way much more of a team player. Even though Brock Besser is a leader, Matthew Barzal can put up serious numbers. He's a serious threat. He can score. He can pass. He can basically do it all. The way he's been playing this year, like, I could see him turning into a Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews type of player, or like maybe even an Evgeny Malkin type of player.
Okay. Moving on to the Lady Byng Trophy. Do you know what that one was?
Yeah.
You have the definition for that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Lady Byng Trophy goes to the most gentlemanly player or the most sportsmanlike player in the league.
You want to know something cool? I got it right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's huge.
I know.
All right. These are my nominees. Tobias Reeder from the Arizona Coyotes, then the LA Kings this year. He was traded. He had 3 minor penalties in 76 games played at this point. I had Ryan O'Reilly. He had 1 penalty in 78 games played this season.
Okay.
And my third nominee was Alex DeBrincat. He has 3 minor penalties in 79 games played.
I'm going to say Alex DeBrincat.
I chose Ryan O'Reilly as the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy winner.
Really?
1 penalty in 78 games?
I mean, that's really good, but... No.
Who'd you pick?
This may shock you a little. I chose PK Subban.
Okay, how come?
I'm not going to talk about how many penalties he's had because he's had more than 3 penalties. But I think when I hear the name PK Subban, I kind of think of like a nice guy. Like if you see him outside of hockey, if you just see him, like, he's on a lot of talk shows or, like, he's on YouTube videos. He was interviewed in the All-Star game, during the All-Star game. He always compliments players, no matter how good they are. He's just a nice guy in general. You're welcome, by the way. And, like, I just get a nice vibe that he's, like, a really nice player. And I think, despite all the... I mean, he hasn't got a total amount of penalties, but he has got a decent amount. Yeah. But other than that, I think, like, he's a really nice person. And he's a really good personality.
I like that. Moving on to the Selke Trophy. That goes to the best defensive forward in the National Hockey League. Did you get the description right on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Here are my nominees. I had, going off the board a bit on this nominee, Blake Coleman of the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
He led the league in shorthanded hits and shorthanded takeaways. He had 24 takeaways this season and 1 giveaway shorthanded. Next, I had Patrice Bergeron. He leads the league in shot attempt percentage, which means when he's on the ice, 57% of the shots go his way, or on the opponent's net, compared to 43% on his net while he's on the ice. And he had a 59% face-off percentage on the PK this year.
Wow, that's
really
good.
Strong, yeah. My third nominee was Ryan O'Reilly. Face-off percentage leader this year at 60.3%. And that got even better in the defensive zone. While he was in the D zone, his face-off percentage was 62.9.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Who do you think that was? Who did I pick?
Sorry, who was the second person?
Patrice Bergeron.
I'm gonna say you chose for the second time Ryan O'Reilly.
I did not. I picked Patrice Bergeron. Because he's such a complete player. Like
he is, and he's so underrated. Yeah. But yeah, he's a really good player.
He's very, very good. Who'd you pick?
This is also going a little off the board. I chose Blake Wheeler.
Blake Wheeler.
Yeah.
I considered Blake Wheeler. Yeah, that's interesting.
Obviously, on a team that's offense is completely loaded, he's a captain. And I think part of the reason that they chose him as a captain is because he, like, Connor Hellebuck, don't get me wrong, he's amazing, but Blake Wheeler, I think, for a forward, has actually saved him a little, and has done a little more defensive work than most coaches expect a forward, or most coaches expect you to do. And I think that, like, there has to be a reason that Blake Wheeler is a captain, and I think that the Jets' defense is really good too, but I feel like Blake Wheeler has to serve some defensive role in Winnipeg.
He does play a lot in the PK.
Yeah, he does. Like, he's a very good penalty killer, and I just think, like, they wouldn't make him I mean, he has been captain for a decent amount of time, but they wouldn't make him captain if he didn't have that piece.
Okay. I like that pick. Moving on to the Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year. My nominees were Gerard Gallant. He carried the expansion team Vegas Golden Knights to the 4th best record in the NHL as it stands now. That might change before the end of the season, but right now they're in 4th place overall, and that's absolutely unheard of. They should have been buried in last place, as every other expansion team has in the past. So to have that team not only making the playoffs, to finish 4th in the league, they're going to have home ice in the first round. That's incredible. Moving on, we have Peter Laviolette from the Nashville Predators. Preds are in 1st place. They get a stacked D. They don't have a whole lot to rely on offense, and I think that Laviolette deserves credit for that 1st place team. And my third nomination was another one from the Western Conference. All 3 nominees are from the West. Paul Maurice of the Winnipeg Jets, a guy that's been on the hot seat for a while. A lot of fans wanted him fired, along with the GM Kevin Cheveldayoff. You know, what are they doing? They can't make trades. Paul Maurice doesn't know what he's doing. And now they're one of the best teams in the league, and I think that Paul Maurice deserves some credit for that.
Yeah, I could say Paul Maurice, but I would consider choosing this coach too, Gerard Gallant, because one thing I like about him is he rolls all 4 lines, which I think part of the success.
Sound it out.
But I think, it's part of their success for Vegas. So I think you probably chose him.
I chose Gerard Gallant.
Yeah, that just makes sense.
Who's your pick?
Okay, I chose Mike Babcock. For a couple of reasons. So Toronto is known to have some pretty hot starts. Maybe not carried into the second and third period. But the one reason that I chose Mike Babcock, obviously from my Toronto Maple Leafs, is because he has a quote, always start on time, which I think has deeply impacted the Leafs this year. Because due to their heart, I feel like that is just connected, that's a spark. If he says start on time and then they put up a 2-goal lead 10 minutes in, it's it's not like he said, okay, we got to be good in the third period. He said start on time, so that's probably a big part of why they're doing really good this year, especially with the offense they have. Score a couple goals early, and then for the second and third period, try to defend as much as you can with Freddie in net. It was a very underrated goaltender, in my opinion.
Okay. Going from behind the bench to the front office, and we'll do the general manager of the year. My nominees were George McPhee from the Vegas Golden Knights. I already talked about what they did this year. Kevin Cheveldayoff from the Winnipeg Jets. I already talked about what they've done this year. And my third nominee was Steve Yzerman. He made that Drouin for Sergachev trade in the offseason. He had a bit of a cap crunch with what to do with his forwards, and he decided to move Drouin, and he got a really good piece. Careful, bud. He got a really good piece in Sergachev, and then that turned out to be a great deal that he stepped in right away as a 19-year-old. And just in general, the emergence of the team. It's a team that he's built for the last few years, and the last part was the man behind the D, Andrei Vasilevsky, emerging as a legitimate number 1 goaltender. With, Ben Bishop moved on.
He hasn't done the greatest in the second half of the year, but
he's really tailed off recently, but he had a really good year.
Otherwise than that, he's been amazing.
So those are my nominees: George McPhee, Kevin Cheveldayoff, and Steve Yzerman.
I'm going to say what I actually chose. I'm going to go Steve Yzerman.
Interesting. I went with George McPhee, just again because what the Knights have done this year. It's unbelievable.
I did choose Steve Yzerman. I think along with Winnipeg, Tampa Bay wasn't exactly known as a really good team last year, and that's just last year. And they've emerged to be top 3 team in the NHL. And with the amount of moves that they've made, they've got so many new faces this year. And then the amount of young talent that they have, all the draft picks they have. I think Steve Yzerman did an amazing job of bringing all those guys in and making Tampa a serious cup contender.
Interesting. I support that. I had him in my top 3.
Yeah.
He was probably my third choice because I love what Kevin Cheveldayoff has built in Winnipeg. But yeah, Yzerman's a good pick. Okay, back on the ice for the last 3. The three biggest trophies in hockey. We'll go to the Norris Trophy for the best defenseman in the league.
James Norris Trophy.
Yeah. My nominees were Victor Hedman from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was tied for 5th in points among defensemen and 2nd in plus-minus. I'm not big on the plus-minus stat, but when it really stands out, I think it is worth something.
Yeah.
And Hedman, had a great year that way. I also chose Drew Doughty from the Los Angeles Kings, 59 points this season, and led the league in time on ice per game. My third nominee was PK Subban. He finished 8th in points in the league among defensemen, tied 2nd in goals at this point, and just keep in mind the season isn't actually over yet. There's a couple games left. Right now he's tied for 2nd in goals, and as I mentioned earlier, 43% of his face-offs of zone starts from the offensive zone. He was in the D zone far more. And, I think that's worth noting.
I'm going to say you chose PK Subban.
I actually really struggled with this one because I love PK, but I don't know. I just feel like Hedman's numbers look better. I don't know. PK's got, there's a lot of D in Nashville. It's really good. Roman Josi is a legitimate candidate every year as well. And Hedman's more on his own in Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa's got a good D too, but not
now
the
they
same
have
level.
McDonough, but
But Hedman got to this point without McDonough for the most part, so I went with Hedman. Who'd you pick?
This is a very surprising pick, but I chose Zach Werenski.
That's off the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that he's really emerged this year as a top defenseman. Last year, if you didn't scroll down to the players, you didn't even know he was in the NHL. And now you're like...
Oh, you knew he was in the NHL. He was right there for the Calder last year.
He was?
Yeah. That's okay, though. He's still a good defenseman.
Oh, boy.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but I think he just, really emerged this year. He probably had his first half was probably a little better than in second half. But, still, I think he did a lot better this year. And, I think it's a little off the board that, he probably doesn't have too much support behind him. So I think that might kind of lose him a little. So probably one of the guys that you mentioned will probably win it, but I still think, Zach Werenski's going to be in the top, one of the top candidates.
It's interesting because I think, I agree with you that he kind of rises above the rest in Columbus, but right there with him is Seth Jones, who he's had a monster year as well. So it's a couple of guys in Columbus that are pretty good. Okay, moving on to the top goaltender, the Vezina Trophy. My nominees were Connor Hellebuck, sported a record of 42-11-9 this season with a 2.40 goals against average, .922 save percentage, and 6 shutouts. Perhaps most noteworthy is that when he didn't play, their record without him is 7-9-1. Yeah. Second, along the same lines, is Pekka Rinne from the Nashville Predators. His record this year is 41-12-4, 2.33 goals against average, .927 save percentage. Leads the league in shutouts with 8. And along the same lines as Hellebuck, without him, their record is 10-5-7.
It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not Nashville.
They won 10 and lost 12.
Without?
10-5.
I thought you said 10-5.
10-5-7.
Yeah.
The 7 shootout losses.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, that's not great.
Third nominee was Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh my God, he was good.
Yeah, 29-12-4 this season. He is the save percentage leader at .931 and second in the league in goals against average at 2.14. So who'd I pick out of those three?
So first of all, the first person that you mentioned was Connor Hellebuck, and right when I look at his win-loss, I automatically think I feel like his numbers are probably a little better than Pekka Rinne's. But then when you said Fleury at .931 save percentage, that's amazing. I think and he's been one of the best reasons that Vegas is where they are. Otherwise, they'd probably be 10th or 11th or 12th maybe. So I think Marc-Andre Fleury is who you chose.
I actually didn't. I went with Pekka Rinne. I really wanted Connor Hellebuck, but when I looked at the numbers, their wins and losses are about the same. Rinne has one less loss. We gotta turn that off. There we go. Okay, now that my furnace is off, what I was saying was that Hellebuck and Rinne had really, really close numbers. Hellebuck had one more win, but he had 20 losses to Rinne's 16.
Oh, and Hellebuck had 20 losses.
He was 42-11-9.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Only he had points in all but 11 games. I give him credit for that, but 9 OT shootout losses.
From that, I actually thought Hellebuck's numbers were better, but now I can kind of see. And yeah, if their numbers are the same, then I think Rene's better than him.
Rene had a better goals against average at 2.33 to 2.40 and a better save percentage at 927 to 922 and more shutouts. So based on that, I went Rene, and then Rene versus Fleury. I think basically Fleury only played in like 45 games. He's hurt there for a while, right? The first year.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So based on that Rene had more of a track record, I went with Pekka Rene.
That makes sense.
Who'd you pick?
I went with Sergei Bobrovsky.
Interesting.
First off, I thought it was basically between Vasilevsky, Fleury, and Bobrovsky.
A month ago, I would have said Vasilevsky's just Vezina winner, and now he's not even the top three.
No. I said it was between basically Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, and Fleury. So first off, obviously Vasilevsky not a good second half, so I had to kick him out. So then basically the fourth guy was Pekka Rinne. I thought his numbers really didn't jump out to me. And then I said, like you said, Fleury's been hurt. There's been a lot of guys that had to step in for him because he's been hurt. And he was hurt for like the first half of the year, basically. I'm like, so then at that point, it was basically between Fleury and Bobrovsky. And Bobrovsky has played most of the season this year, while Fleury's been injured quite a bit this year. So I thought, well, there's no guarantee that Fleury would have been consistent, even though he is very consistent. But I feel like you gotta, just because he's played more games, you gotta give credit to Bobrovsky, who's been unbelievable this year. The only thing is he can be inconsistent at times, but when he is consistent, there's nobody scoring on him.
Okay. Last but not least, the Hart Memorial Trophy goes to the league MVP, and the definition of that, according to the NHL, is the player most valuable to his team. And I think that requires a bit of interpretation even further. So you can go a lot of different ways in how you want to vote for this, and I think it's going to be all over the map this year for who the top three candidates are when they're actually voted on. My top three were Connor McDavid. He's the points leader. He's at 41 goals, 62 assists for 103 points this year at this point. And Edmonton has been awful, and they have the running away best player in the league, as far as I'm concerned. And where would they be without him? That's a scary thought. They'd be
doing really bad. Like, if say you were to place Connor McDavid, let's go from a Leafs player, Tyler Bozak, I would be surprised if they were to have 15 wins.
Yeah. Where would they be without him? It's hard to believe that he's that good and that team is that bad.
Yeah.
My next nominee was Nikita Kucherov. Dominant offense for one of the best teams in the league in the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
38 goals and 59 assists for 79 points so far this season, and he's second in the league in scoring at this point.
I kind of disagree with that just because of how much firepower Tampa Bay has. Now, without him, you're probably not going to get as many goals as you are with him, but I think you're still gonna get goals. It's not like you with him you get like 8 goals a game, and then without him you're automatically getting shut out every single game. I still think that you have Steven Stamkos, you have Hedman, who can actually score. You have Braden Point, who's on the second line, and he's an all-star. You have all these guys that can put the puck in the net. And yes, like Nikita Kucherov is a very valuable player. I just don't think he's
all right
up there.
Agree to disagree. My third candidate was Nathan MacKinnon from the Colorado Avalanche, and I voted for him because he's carrying Colorado offensively. Between him and Mikko Rantanen, that line is unbelievable. And I read somewhere, I don't know if this is still the case, for the longest time, Mikko Rantanen had not gone more than 2 games at any point this season. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
he's on McKinnon's line. McKinnon's kind of feeding him.
Yeah.
Or he's feeding McKinnon, too. And the biggest part of why I voted for him, not only that he's carrying Colorado, that they weren't expected to do anything this year, and they look like they could make the playoffs. They're kind of on the bubble right now. They're in, but they could very well fall out. If they're in the playoffs, he's absolutely a candidate. The biggest reason, though, is because he is actually outpacing McDavid in points per game this year. McDavid has 103 points in like 80 games, and McKinnon has something like 94 points in 74 games, so he's slightly outpacing him. Over an 82-game schedule, McDavid's played 80 games, he's got 103 points. If McKinnon had played 80 games at this point, he'd have 104 points. So he's slightly outpacing McDavid. Who'd I pick?
I'm going to say you pick McKinnon.
I picked McDavid.
Okay.
And it's gonna be controversial. I'm interested to see.
I'm glad you actually said that because he's very valuable, but even Edmonton's so bad that even with him they're not going anywhere. So I think really the only thing McDavid is doing, which is a lot, is lifting them maybe 5 spots ahead of where they actually should be, because it's not like it's not like they're in a playoff spot right now. So I just feel like with that, he's not going to win because it's not like they're losing anything without him. It's going to be they drop 5 places, which could actually be good with the draft picks that they might get.
It's going to be interesting. What I was going to say was it's going to be interesting to see where this all shakes out for the Hart Trophy this year, because there's a lot of candidates. Some people have said Patrice Bergeron. Some people have said Taylor Hall should be in the conversation. You could argue that Hellebuck or Rene are just as equally an MVP as anybody that I've mentioned. I picked McDavid because he is far and away, it's not even close, the best player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I know he is.
I was reading some stats on him the other day. The biggest one that stuck out to me was that he has 80 even strength points, and the second place is McKinnon. He's at 63.
Ooh, that's so different.
Yeah, he's so far ahead of everybody else, and the chances generated are obscene. He's so far ahead of everybody else. He is. It's going to be interesting to see who's voted for the Hart Trophy, because I think I've named 3 guys. Maybe none of them are nominated. We'll see. Yeah,
there's definitely going to be a lot of people that are going to get votes.
But I think McDavid is the guy. And I didn't do my research on this, but I would like to know who the last guy was that didn't make the playoffs that was named MVP. That's probably been a real long time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's why I'm saying McDavid isn't going to win it. If they were a playoff team, I automatically put McDavid.
Is it going to be? I think it's going to be all over the map on who gets voted this year. Yeah. Who'd you have?
Frederik Andersen.
Come on.
I'm dead serious.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I guess we're done. All right, explain yourself.
Yeah, so the Leafs, I'm going to say this as a Leafs fan, they're probably not going to win the Cup this year. But, where would they be without him? They have no defense. He gets about 40 shots a game.
They have defense. They just don't have a great defense.
No, that's what I mean.
Okay.
But, they had about 40 shots a game. And, okay, he lets in 2 goals a game. About that. Maybe he has one bad game where he allows, 3 goals on 20 shots. That's in, once in, every 20 games. If 10, maybe. But, 2 goals on 40 shots. I don't even need to do the math here. I'm pretty sure that's a .950 save percentage.
So hold on. You picked who for the Vezina? Bobrovsky, and then you pick a different goaltender for the Hart Trophy? How does that make any sense?
A lot of games he's getting hanged out to dry, but he's actually saving the team. Versus Bobrovsky, his numbers, I'm just going to say this, are way better than Frederik Andersen's, yet he's not getting as close to as many shots as Andersen is, because their defense is better, and they actually have some players that can play a defensive role. So.
Okay.
That's
off the board.
I'm surprised actually by your reaction.
I'm surprised by your choice.
I thought Frederik Andersen. you're paying me like a lot of money if he wins.
Done.
Oh, how much?
I'll take you to a game or something. That's how confident I am he's not gonna win.
Okay. Anyways, I think like he's done a serious job for them this year.
Okay.
So that's been the podcast.
We'll be back in, I don't know, a couple weeks to a month. We do something in between. We have like Justin said, bowling next week. Then we might do something else, and then we'll probably plan something for our next podcast. We'll have to do a podcast like mid playoffs and kind of
talk about basically what's been happening so far.
Well, maybe we'll revisit our brackets that we did in the first episode.
Yeah. So that was your boys, Jack and Justin.
There it is, episode 2 in the books, and we'll be back in a few weeks.
With episode 3,
and we'll check in what we've been doing in between, and
that's it.
Let us know how we're doing.
Bye.
Bye.